Back with you, folks. It is 5 minutes now after the hour of 5 o'clock. Here in America's favorite city, the city of Philadelphia, brotherly love and sisterly affection awaits you. This is the Nick Taliaferro Show on 900 AM WURD, Progressive and Proud Radio in America's favorite city, of course. Let's get right back to the conversation. We want to thank you for holding on for us, Dr. Gallagher.
My pleasure.
In the next few moments, and we can, we're tied up together here for the next 10 minutes. I wanted to ask you, because I find our last caller did have something to say about the definitions of race being a sort of exaggerated polarity, black and then white, when it really is not descriptive of anything. How could we effectively redefine race in America, or is it possible after such a history that America has had?
Yeah, I think that, here we say that race is a social invention, that it's not real, that there's more genetic variation within one racial group than between them, all these things. But the reality is that we still put people in boxes. And, I would be the first one to say, this is a silly category. It's a category that really comes out of colonialism. Let's get rid of it. But the fact is that the police behave a certain way because, we're still talking about Jordan Davis and Trayvon Martin. This is just an extension of Emmett Till. The fact is that people see race and they use race to structure their lives, where they buy their housing. Think about your callers. It's not just whites. My black students say, my mother would go nuts if I brought a white man into my house as my boyfriend.
Right.
So the fact is everybody is invested in this thing for a host of reasons. And the reality is that I'd be the first person to say, let's get rid of race once the playing field was level. But I think we still need to take race into account because race matters. I think that's just and I went through all the different quality of life indicators. These things still matter.
Well, the idea, I know that there's no getting rid of it. I was just wondering, and I think we may actually be moving toward redefining it because suddenly now the concept of race, or mixed race rather, is starting to have real cachet, especially with people like Barack Obama, Alicia Keys, and others who are demonstrating that there's a group of people who really don't care to be defined one way or the other.
Yeah, I think Barack Obama is a good example, and we know his history, all of us know it, but he's always reduced to a black president. I don't hear about his white mother that often. It's just once in a while to talk about how we've moved forward, but that's not on the foreground of his social identity. It's him as a black, and that's how he self-identifies.
Right.
If he says, he said, look at my rich history, and he does have a very rich history. But when he self-identifies as a black man, and that gets back to the one-drop rule. That this thing is still pretty powerful. We were speaking with Dr. Yaba Blay about that a little bit earlier this week. Let's get back to our phone calls, take another call before, while we still have the privilege of this conversation. Woody in Winfield, thank you for your call and welcome to the program. We're speaking with Dr. Charles Gallagher.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, Woody, how you feeling, man?
Hey, man, I'm just glad to hear you, and you're sounding good. I'm listening to you all the time here at the barbershop with all my customers. And I just wanted to say to Dr. Gallagher that you guys are having a great conversation. However, the question I had to ask you, if I were to ask you the word race, is that to you a plural or singular word?
Oh, great question. Is it is race, so could I say races? And that would be...
No, I'm just asking you to say the word race. Is it a plural or a singular word?
And Woody, I'm not giving you a dodge either. I see the word race as a hierarchy, and because that's what it's fundamentally about. It's about putting groups below and above one another.
But that wasn't a question, Doctor.
So I guess actually race would be basically a hierarchy of, there's many races, I guess. We could talk about the human race.
So you would say it was a plural then?
Well, it sounds to me that
well, let me say this then,
okay.
Nick, because we're not going to get, this is one of the things that we need to practice. I'm the chairman of an organization called Human Family Day, and we celebrate about the time of Dr. King's assassination. The reason we do Human Family Day is to remind people there's only one human family. It's called the human race. Understanding that and putting that inside a person's mind, each day that you use the word race as a plural, you can correct yourself and have your friends do it too. That will start something that would at least get our children to thinking differently than they think today. Once we start understanding that aspect of where are we going as a human race, then we see the power of what that one little word is doing to everybody. Now, you just mentioned, Doctor, that the president was reduced to being called the black president. So all I'm saying to you is that's not a reduction. If the original person of the planet came out
Yeah,
black.
you know what?
That's the beginning of all human race.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think that I would answer, and again, I'm not trying to get around your question, which is good. I have 2 young daughters, and I tell them what you're saying to me is that we are this, and these categories emerge as kind of a socio-political way as resources. It's about basically getting resources. But here's why I would say I do still think about races and why they're important, because like just for example, I mean, I do a lot of work on housing. You know, who is more likely to get a loan even though they have the same assets? I mean, you know, who's more likely...
I understand where you're coming from.
Right,
What I'm trying to do is to get to the core of the word,
yeah,
and to get to the core so that you, when you're teaching, that you understand that we need to do away with dividing the word.
Well, you know, what I was going to plug in to interject so that I can look like the A student in this class.
Nick,
No problem. I was going to say that
I'm not in the barbershop. You're not in the chair, Nick. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean you're both taking something off the head and putting something in it, but I was going to say that race is almost a collective singular word like human. We are humans who make up the human family. Does that make sense to either of you?
The human race is identified as one.
No, I was just saying, but the same thing is that it's a collective. It is a collective plural.
And, you know, and Woody, let me say something to Woody that people will say, well, it's this kind of idea of essentialism. It's natural for people to want to be with their own. I'm like, whoa, no. You know, the history, and I think you're getting at it. These divisions have been created through really socialization, really through, you know, and like I tell my students, they get flipped out. It turns out I self-identify as someone white, but I have the sickle cell trait. And they always say to me, what do you mean? You're a white guy. And I'm like, well, I said, then you don't understand how the sickle cell trait works.
Yeah, that's right.
That part of my population comes from the Mediterranean. And, and it's not, and of course it's Sicily, which was controlled by North Africa for hundreds of years. It's an evolutionary response to malaria. Right. And I said, you know, and this is what you don't get. I said, and that's getting to your point, is that if you think
let me say this, Doctor. I don't mean to cut you off. Where you're coming from is the issue of color. Race is different than color. See, there's only one race. It's called the human race. There's only one color. It's called melanin. It has many shades. So there's only one either way you go. Well, understanding that and understanding that you come from somewhere else as it relates to the melanin in your skin, that can create a person that has a keloid that happens to look like they're white.
Right. Well, I had
usually associated with a person that's of darker hue.
I use this great article from my race class that I teach, and it's this famous anthropologist. But he says, you know, black is beautiful because black. It's good to be black if you live near the equator, and that's just like you know, because in the last, you know, the 300 years or so, we're moving a lot. But if you didn't have dark skin at the equator, you were going to get cancer. And then, of course, white is beautiful. The farther you go up to the top, it's exactly the amount of melanin you have going to getting vitamin D out of the sun.
I'm going to let
Final
Nick go
point.
back, and I'm sorry, but this is last, and I'll leave you with this, Doctor. God knows what he's doing, and wherever you are on the planet, the environment paints the picture. We all started out from the hue of the darkness of a single person, and it came into everybody else, but still the human race. So I'll leave you with that. Nick, thanks a lot.
You got it, Woody. Have a good one there, man. Good talking to you.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, either way it goes, Dr. Gallagher, first of all, I want to thank you for spending time talking with us, but I'm so looking forward to continuing the dialogue with you.
Yes, let's keep it going.